Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're going to tell you how we felt about the Captain Logan biopic. I thought it was great. I think Hugh Jackman did a really good job playing me.
I thought it was really self-indulgent and pretentious.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about that, because I directed it. Anyway, so
that explains a lot.
Today we're going to tell you how we felt about Logan, which is supposed to be Hugh Jackman's, of course, send-off movie for Wolverine. It's the first time we've done one of these things rated R and for a mature audience. And basic, real quick synopsis, and we're going to be as short and sweet as we can today, because, of course, we got a spoiler cast on Sunday, and I just don't want to give things away, and of course, you know, we try to make this as non-spoiler as possible, but this is a movie I really can't wait to sink my teeth into, you know, when we get to Sunday, and I want to make sure that we don't do too much of that kind of thing here, because at the risk of letting people know right away how I feel about this movie, I want people to experience this. But anyway, so we're in the future. Is it 2029?
Yes, 2029.
I think they say 2029 at the beginning, and then we got a little bit farther from that, and I was trying to remember if I was remembering
We put the world back
date
together
correctly.
quite a bit from Days of Future Past.
Assuming it's in that same continuity, which is, well, it could be, and we can talk a little bit later about that. Okay. There's nothing that completely contradicts that. There's a scene that makes you think we're probably ignoring that, but it could still potentially work, I think. Anyway, so it's not the post-apocalyptic world of...
No.
Listen, I'm not done. It's not the post-apocalyptic world from Old Man Logan. It is a somewhat, in a way, post-apocalyptic world.
I was thinking about this while we were watching the movie, and I realized no matter what they did in this film, it would technically be post-apocalypse.
That's true. That's true, but post-apocalyptic is a different thing.
I thought of that joke like 15 minutes in the movie, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit on that.
Kind of an interesting. Sorry, I didn't know that's where you're going with that. Really an interesting way to go with that, where it's...
I don't think it's post-apocalyptic as much as it is, like, dystopian. Like, it's not a great future. It's also not an awful future, especially if you're human.
Yeah, I mean, I can make the case that it's, in a way, almost worse than if things were visually really awful. There's definitely some social commentary about where we are as a society and where we're going, and I thought this movie was horrifying for that social aspect. But what I thought was interesting about that is that if you're a human, it doesn't look that different from the world we live in. If you're a mutant, it looks way different.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
and we had a couple of mutants in our theaters, and their reaction was very different than ours.
So anyway, yeah, and I, you know, and I thought that there were some kind of like bigoted people in the audience of those. It was like
they kept saying "Shut up, stupid mutie," and I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, and they had those picket signs from the '90s cartoon, and that was weird.
Yep.
You know, the "Go Home Mutie" signs. But anyway, so there is a as you know, if you saw the trailers, X-23 is here, and it's this very young version. She's probably 9 or 10, and there's a group that's after her, and I don't think this is giving too much away. It's very much an extension or like a new version of the Weapon X program, and she was kind of created by them.
Well, she's X-23. That's in the trailer. You see her claws.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, I don't think it's going too far for people that don't know what X-23 is necessarily to say it's an extension of the Weapon X program. But I don't know how else to describe that, so I'm mentioning that anyway. And so I'm tiptoeing around because I don't want to give anything away. So Wolverine gets kind of forced in a place, and he's very much, you know, I'm not. I don't want to be a hero. I'm not Wolverine anymore. Everyone leave me alone. But he's kind of forced into a situation where he has to help her, and then feels like he has a real personal obligation to help her, and he's also keeping Professor Xavier kind of hidden away from the world, and Professor X is in real bad shape because Wolverine's having to kind of keep him on drugs so that horrible things don't happen with his powers, which is just the saddest thing I've seen in a really long time. But that's kind of the setup for the film, and Eric, I think it's ultimately a really simple film.
Yeah, it's a Western.
A simple story. Yeah, definitely. And it's not the Mad Max road trip thing that you maybe thought it would be from the trailers.
It's more
really.
It's more Outlaw Josie Walesy. I think it's weird. There's a Western. Yeah. There's a Western that you get a glimpse of in the film, and this is not that movie at all.
No, but the parallels are interesting. I thought that was a good choice.
Yeah. I also like it being referred to as an old picture. Yeah. Nobody calls it pictures anymore. That's great. But no. That's kind of what I got from this. I was like, oh, we're making a Western. Like I know we say that a lot when we make movies. It's like, oh, well, this is a modern day Western. This is a Western.
This is a real particular kind of Western.
Yeah,
too.
This feels. Oh, I mean, it makes sense because Old Man Logan is very unforgiving, and this isn't that. But there's definitely some Western sensibilities to this, and certainly in the score and the song choices. But yeah, it's not a road trip movie in the way that...
I mean, we travel, but in the way we do in a Western.
Yeah, it's not the road trip movie thing like Old Man Logan the comic where, and then we stop, and there's this crazy adventure, and then we stop, and there's it's not like Fanboys.
Now, I'm not super familiar with Westerns, so with my limited knowledge, this is maybe a horrible a choice of a thing to compare it to, but just tonally, maybe a little True Grit, at least the remake.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. It's also just kind of inherently Lone Wolf and Cub a little bit, and Road to Perdition is a riff on that, and I was feeling a little Road to Perdition in this. Yeah, it's a lot of like really classic kind of material.
And then action and violence wise, it's real Tarantino.
Yeah, like Kill Bill, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Eric, why don't you go ahead and flip your sign and tell us how you felt about Logan?
I felt like I finally got a superhero movie made without fear.
That's a wonderful board. Wow. Yeah.
This is the movie I've always wanted to be made out of a superhero property. Not every superhero property.
No, one that it's appropriate for.
Yeah. It's a real R-rated movie. It's a real story. It's a real character piece. But
you can even say that about a lighthearted thing. We're just not afraid of the material.
Yeah. And there's no fear in this. There is no feeling.
There's no studio mandate.
There's no feeling of studio mandates. There's no feeling of this might be too far for an. I complain about it a lot with Deadpool. That like there's a lot of things where I'm like, well, we really watered this down because we were afraid there is no fear in this movie.
And Deadpool is R. I mean, you have to compare those.
Yeah. And this is a real R movie. That is a PG-13 movie.
This is not trying to be accessible. This is not for everybody.
No.
I don't know that this is for me exactly.
This is a movie
but I loved it for that in a way.
This is a movie that was not made with an audience in mind. It was the movie they wanted to make, and they hoped people liked it.
Yeah.
It was made... It seems like it was made without any consideration of the culture we're in. It's not super jokey. It's not super lighthearted. Like,
with any consideration except for what it has to say about that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, it's not made for us now. It's made for. I complained the other day, we don't make grown-up movies anymore. This is a grown-up movie.
Yeah, and not just because you got a bunch of people getting their heads...
No, but it took advantage of that. It could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a. I said this when we walked out of the theater. I also could have made this my board, but I knew this was my board.
Yeah.
It's a sobering and somber film.
Yeah.
And I was a little put off.
I never thought I would see this kind of sophistication with a superhero film, and I have said that for some other movies. We do this so often, and you and I both rolled our eyes when we saw review headings that compared it to Dark Knight. It's a fair comparison. I've seen it.
Absolutely,
fair comparison.
Nope, it's in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Very different kind of film.
Not that it's like that.
Yeah,
but yeah. Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
even more so than that.
Yeah. And even
it's in that league.
And even Dark Knight and Winter Soldier, I feel like there are clearly a few here and there studio compromises and things like that. I don't think Dark Knight's exactly the movie that he would have made if he could have done anything he wanted.
This has zero.
Yeah, this feels like they just gave them money and said, "Do what you want," and it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think everyone should see it. Maybe not everyone.
Not everyone.
This is no.
Certainly not children, but maybe when they grow up.
It is not for the squeamish.
Yeah, certainly.
But it feels. This feels like it could have been an Oscar movie.
That was almost my board. My board was almost, this movie made me, and it's not, this movie made me feel like it's high time we finally consider these kinds of movies for Oscars.
If you take the genre stuff out of this is an Oscar bait movie in certain ways.
Yeah, in certain ways, but the genre stuff is part of what ought to make it a contender because of...
It deals with it so adult.
In such a mature way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I was blown away by this movie. I think it's brilliant.
Anything you didn't like that you want to throw out to do it?
Should I do a best worst?
Best worst, yeah.
Okay, so best is a little tough. So I'm going to go with maybe most surprising thing in the film.
Yeah, sure.
Which is, in the trailers, I didn't think the bad guy felt like he had any presence. The guy with the sunglasses, the kind of main guy tracking him.
And he's, as you always say, he's the heavy before he's the villain.
Yes. But the villain we don't really know, and he's not in the trailer.
Yeah,
it's not a reveal, but like he's not in the trailer.
Well, it's not a villain so much as the guy with the plan.
Yeah,
you know. But as far as the comic book, the guy with the mechanical hand that you see in the trailer.
I didn't catch in the trailer that he had a mechanical hand.
I did.
Okay,
I thought we talked about that when we reviewed the trailer, but maybe not.
Maybe I forgot. I thought he was really fun and engaging, and really scary. He had presence, and that was my biggest fear. Was
he does kind of fall out of the movie, and I forget he's there though.
Yeah, but I liked him quite a bit.
He's in when he's speechifying. He's great.
Yeah, I really liked him. I think he was Southern. That was the thing that I feel like used to be a trope that we've. Like, it used to be a thing that we did, then it became a trope, and we stopped doing it, and now we just don't do it anymore. He did a really good Southern accent, I thought.
Well, especially given especially given Stryker. I mean, even this franchise, we have this problem.
Yeah, but I really liked him. Like, I'm not saying he is the best part, but without really sitting and thinking about it, and without being able to spoil anything, I'm gonna go with, I was surprised by how much I liked him. My worst thing is, for the first 15 minutes of this movie, it feels like they were so excited to make an R-rated movie, they forgot that there were any swear words other than the F word.
That's mine. That's mine.
And there were so many points where I was like, you can still swear. You don't have to use that word. Like, there are other swear words.
I hope this isn't going to... Yeah, it's almost like we were sitting on that word for 20 years or something.
It's like going into a candy shop and just focusing on the chocolate. There's other stuff here.
It's like you've been carrying around a gun that is loaded with F-bombs.
And you're not allowed, so ready.
It's got like a safety on it, and it's child protected,
and
so you're not able to...
It wears off.
Finally somebody lets that... Yeah, exactly. Because you ran out of F-bomb bullets in your F-bomb gun.
And they keep swearing, but they finally start using other swear words. They start using it appropriately. No, the first 15 minutes, I thought it was...
I hope this isn't going.
It was a little. It was a little overdone, a little obnoxious. Like, I'm like, I get it. You get to say the F word. You have a whole movie to do this with.
No reason for me to complain about my worst thing then, because that's it.
And there were points where I was like, you could have just had a sentence. You didn't even need it. You didn't even need the F word in that. Like, sometimes I was like, well, you could use another swear word. Sometimes I was like, that line would have been fine without that.
It's not for emphasis. And that's the only thing that, well, with the exception of a couple things with the violence, which I would have roped into that. There are places where I don't think we needed to go as
You reacted to the violence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely I did. And partly it's because of what I wrote on my board, but it's... Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Absolutely. Hopefully this isn't giving too much away. I was put off by Professor X saying that word. Even in the state he's in, I
was put off by how often he says it.
And as he gets more lucid later, he is speaking like Professor X. He's starting to talk more like a sophisticate. But he still will sometimes use that word. And I mean, like, for him, the world has gone to hell. And so, I mean, I can see, and he hasn't totally put his hands up in the air. This is still the optimistic Professor X. This is still the idealist. He still believes there's hope, and they get that character. And I was at first a little bit worried that he was kind of just there because they wanted a classic character that we knew, and that was always an interesting relationship. And you need a father figure because of the whole Wolverine X-23 thing. So there's a lineage thing going on there. But I was kind of afraid it was just going to be laugh at the crazy old man, and some of that is there. But he finally turns into Professor X again, and so it was okay. But
yeah, I thought sometimes when he used that word it was fine, but other times I was like, there are other words in the English language. Like, I get that you're excited that you're making an R-rated movie.
And it just doesn't sound like it's his voice, but...
Yeah, and like, there's points where I'm like, yeah, he's pushed to it, like, he's real angry. But then there's other times where he just I don't know, it was weird. They were too excited about that word.
Anything else you want to say before I flip my board?
I was a little put off by the reaction of the crowd walking out.
Oh, I was too.
They seemed to feel like
this is, of course, nothing about the film.
But they seemed to feel like they went and saw a real fun action movie.
It was like they went to Days of Future Past. Well, not exactly. It was like they went to...
Like Deadpool or something.
No, you know what it is? It's, well, okay, sure, but John Wick.
Yeah!
It's like that.
Yeah, they walked out like they saw John Wick, and it's not that.
This is not a fun film. And it shouldn't be, with the story we're telling. It has levity. There are moments...
Like all stories.
Like all good stories.
Yeah.
Because you want to run the gambit of the human experience. Sometimes things happen that are inherently funny, and it helps Logan feel like a real person, and boy, he needs it here because this is all about how he might have lost his humanity. So you got to have those things, but a lot of the audience we saw this with, or I guess the vocal laughing minority, did not understand what movie they were watching and seemed like they were waiting for parts where they were supposed to laugh. And I heard a lot of people, we shouldn't talk about this too long, but I heard a few people laugh in completely inappropriate places where nothing amusing was going on.
But even like walking out,
I was having an experience with this film, and that took me out, and I don't know.
Well, and why? Because you went to the restaurant after we walked out, and I went and smoked a cigarette, and like everyone's coming out like, oh man, it was so awesome when this happened, then this, and I was like, I didn't see the same movies. I saw a really tragic, sad movie.
Yeah.
That was really visceral. That's the thing about the violence. It's not fun action. It's visceral.
You feel like you're in it.
Yeah.
And in places it hurts you, and that's what it's intended to do. No, that reaction bothers me. Anyway,
but what is your board?
Yeah, sure. Here's my board. This movie made me feel like I was rapidly experiencing the end of my childhood. And that's not a criticism of this film, but this was a surreal experience for me, Eric. It's like I've grown up with the X-Men franchise, in somewhat of a similar way to Harry Potter, kind of, but only kind of, where, and superhero movies in general, where, we can do this now. Like, Deadpool got us to the place where we can take mainstream comic book material and make a really mature farce. And mature is not the right word, but for a mature audience,
adult.
Yeah, where we can do that kind of raunchy thing.
This is the movie I didn't think we'd get. We're like, we're like when Deadpool came out, and it was like, okay, studios are going to take this as you should make a lot of R-rated comedies. No one's going to take this as you can make an R-rated movie. They did.
Yeah. And I used to get really giddy when I was younger. The X-Men movies were coming out when I was in high school. When I would see those films, and they were more intelligent and sophisticated than other superhero movies we had, but they were still family superhero movies, and it was still especially with the first one kind of a formula. And here it was like I was like watching my childhood die is not the right way to put that, because it makes it sound like, you ruined my childhood. I don't mean that. It's just suddenly all of the stuff that you always thought, and that Hugh Jackman clearly always wanted to do with the rougher kind of Max-esque kinds of Wolverine stories, suddenly we've had on screen, but it's with this version, it's with the version I came up with, and one of the things that really hit me about this movie, because I mean, this is one of the most depressing movies I've seen in a long time, and it's one of the most depressing
Children of Men
superhero movies. I've never seen that.
Okay.
But, it's one of the most depressing. It's probably the most depressing superhero movie maybe ever made beyond past Watchmen. But like as far as mainstream. Being in superhero properties that have been made for families before, it's not without a sense of optimism at the end. But I was really surprised, without giving anything away, just like how heavy and relentless it allowed itself to be, and still is one of the most human. If we want to just look at superhero films. And I don't know, that really took me aback. But one of the things that really surprised me was all of the stuff that we have tried to do in X-Men movies, and especially Wolverine movies, that we did right here. Children, woods.
I knew you were going to bring up the woods. I almost nudged you in the theater. I was like, woods. But I didn't.
Even the really dumb plot device at the end of X-Men Origins is used here and executed in a really spectacular fashion.
There's a thing that we point out in our commentary for the Wolverine in the 4 seconds we were paying attention to that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That they do more with here.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what we're talking about
the
right
poison.
Now. Oh yes, yeah, and I forgot all about that, yeah, and that didn't feel contrived.
No, it made perfect sense.
I bought that was maybe happening now, and it makes more sense than his aging and starting to lose his powers in Old Man Logan, because there we don't really have much of an explanation, and here we know what's causing it, almost from the beginning, which I really appreciated. Yeah, like I said, this is a disturbing film in all the right ways. I had an experience with this. It really got me, and I was walking out of the theater just not wanting to talk. I just it was
me too. We had the most ominous car ride home.
Yeah,
we barely talked.
Yeah, no, and ominous is the right word. Like I said, it's not a fun movie. I'm almost scared to go back. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm almost scared to go back to the theater and experience this again, because I'm seeing a lot of things that sound like criticisms. It hurt my feelings. It was, especially with the Professor X stuff, man. Like, and that's my favorite character, and all I could do was look at Patrick Stewart in this as the older version of the guy that I resonated with me so much in Days of Future Past. I just kept going back and forth. We need you to hope again, and real quick, as far as the, because I think we can talk about this here real quick, as far as the, what continuity is this set in thing, it doesn't matter. It might as well be a what-if story, honestly. But,
and this is the thing that people have always talked about, of like, specifically with Batman, it's like, well, you always want to do Dark Knight Returns, why don't you just make that movie, and then go make a different movie, and then I'd like to see more of that.
It is, yeah, absolutely. But it's not like we're just using those actors and setting
we
this
mentioned
in
X-Men 1.
Entirely different continuity. We not only mention X-Men 1, but the group is Alkali, and that's where the origin. That's where the Weapon X origin and X2 came from. So we're looking at more of that, and once again, we even go back to Origins in a weird way. Not that we're like thinking of that as canonical necessarily, but obviously we thought about that. So there's one scene.
Is this a satisfactory conclusion to the Wolverine trilogy?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. There's no reason that this couldn't be in either continuity, and I love how ambiguous that is. I don't think it matters, because that is also convoluted now. That I don't even want to think about it anymore in a way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for this story.
But I will mention that it's interesting. I just spent so much time on this with the Days of Future Past Rewind that I feel the need to mention it, even though I'm saying I don't want to think about it, because I have thought about it. But So
I won't stop thinking about it.
So with the Wolverine, I'm gonna think.
Stop thinking thoughts!
There's no reason that this couldn't take place a few years after the Wolverine, and this be the first timeline before we wiped over it, and we just assumed that the Sentinel apocalyptic thing never happens. That's the problem, is that happens in 2023. So any way you slice it, it has to be the Days of Future Past world, or it has to be a world where that just didn't happen. You see what I'm saying? So we have to either ignore that movie or put it in the soft reboot. And where it fits, and where it could still fit in the soft reboot, is just because Professor X, this is a super, super minor spoiler, just because Professor X is saying things like, you came to us, we took you in, and they're talking about the Statue of Liberty thing and all of that, just because Wolverine doesn't remember how exactly all that happened in the other timeline, doesn't mean that some of that couldn't have still necessarily happened, and that Professor X hasn't just told him about it so many times.
Well, no,
you see what I'm saying? Like, it still could be in the Days of Future Past.
It plays more like,
But now that I'm thinking about it, giving the Statue of Liberty thing, I really kind of doubt that happens. I doubt that Fassbender's Magneto grows up and does exactly that.
It plays more like the comic Old Man Logan, or like a lot of what ifs that aren't like completely separate. What if something completely different happened? We move forward in the future. Something happened in between. It's different.
But having said that,
because Old Man Logan has a lot of ties to actual Marvel continuity. It's just it's splintered at some point.
But the problem with looking at it as a what if thing, and overall for its own standalone story, that's the best way to look at it. I think. I don't want to see him ever play the role again.
Yes.
Ever.
No, he cannot.
I just but it's weird saying that because we're in a different continuity. I mean we're in our own.
He can't come back.
He can't come back.
He cannot come back. This is it. He got to do the movie he's always wanted to do.
Yeah.
He should be done.
Yeah, I think so. Because you know, unless he wanted to, I don't know. I don't think he should.
I don't either. This should be the last time he plays it.
Anything else before we bid everybody adieu?
No.
Oh, sorry. No, one thing we got because we have not brought this up at all. If I had to pick a best thing, because
is it X-23?
I think he gives an Oscar-winning performance. I really do. But
Hugh Jackman?
Yes, I think he gives an Oscar-winning performance.
I agree.
Oscar-winning performance.
I agree.
But she is the best child actress I've ever seen.
She's amazing.
Ever. I put her above Hit Girl. I mean, like, I've never seen anything like that in a child performance.
She has a world weariness to her, and she's got something in her eyes.
Yeah.
She's able to play a role that adults struggle with playing.
I mean, I put it above things like The Good Son. I mean, like, she's amazing.
The pain and suffering in her eyes is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And all that time that she's doing some real acting and some real layered acting and not speaking. It's brilliant. And, of course, she's never been in anything before.
It says introducing.
She has an introducing credit at the beginning. Watch out for her.
Yeah. No kidding.
Because people are going to be talking about her.
Yep.
And it could be Hit Girl all over again.
Yep.
But anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it, and we will see you again on Sunday when we dissect the crud out of this thing with a panel. And in the meantime, lots more videos coming your way here on Geekvolution this week. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Thanks for watching, folks.